Hello guys, so welcome back. So now guys, we're going to go over the last topic. We're at the end guys with the biology section. This is the topic. So the ecology topic, personally I find it quite boring, but it's not really too difficult guys. You really just have to know only a few concepts. So hopefully guys, all of this is all making sense. Hopefully all of this is helping you guys, and hopefully we all move together and really smash this exam, the BMAT and the NSAA if you're a natural scientist. But now guys, we move on to the next question, which is BMAT 2019 question 13. The which of the following is or are included in the carbon cycle. So guys, pause the video, give yourself a minute, be sure to be back after that minute. Or guys, if you have no clue about the carbon cycle, just forward on to the answers and we can go through that. That's no problem. Okay, guys, so welcome back. So let's go through this. So essentially, guys, the carbon cycle is also revolving around this idea of CO2. So you have CO2 in the atmosphere. Now, what's the main thing which is fixing CO2, right? The main thing which is fixing CO2 is going to be the plants, isn't it? Um, because the plants can photosynthesize. So I'm going to write PS, photosynthesis, right? And then what happens to the plants? The plants then are eaten by the primary consumers, isn't it? So you have the producers, which is the plants, and then you have the primary consumers, etc. etc. Remember the pyramid of biomass. So you have a load of energy in the producers, less energy in the primary consumers, less in the secondary, and then even less in the tertiary. And the reasons for that is because let's just say, for example, the primary consumer, which will obviously be some sort of herbivore, right? Because it's eating the plants only. So the primary consumer might not eat all parts of the plant. For example, it might not eat the twigs because it might not be digestible. And the twigs obviously have biomass, so they have energy inside them. But since you're not taking them in, you're not transferring that energy to the next stage. So you have essentially less energy. And a similar idea at all stages. And also, guys, remember you're losing energy. For example, in respiration as you go up the pyramid of biomass. But anyways, guys, so CO2 plants, and then the plants are eaten by the herbivores, right? And herbivores are eaten by other consumers and other consumers. So we could just say that energy from the plants going to herbivores plus other consumers indirectly for other consumers, right? And then what's going to happen to these herbivores and other consumers? These are essentially going to die, isn't it? So these die and become fossilized. So fossilized, right? And that's basically that's essentially the basis of fossil fuels, right? So when they get fossilized over thousands and thousands of years, right? Then you essentially use them as fossil fuels. So then they're burnt as fossil fuels. So burnt fossil fuels, and remember that process, because you have a lot of carbon in those fossils, when you burn them, you're essentially adding oxygen. So you have carbon, if oxygen is going to reproduce your carbon dioxide. And that's essentially it, isn't it, guys? So that's a beautiful carbon cycle. So let's look at this. Which of the following is or are included in the carbon cycle? It says amino acids in an animal. Yeah, that's true, because the carbon from plants is eaten by herbivores and other consumers, and that's obviously a form of carbon, isn't it? And that carbon can be used to make other macromolecules and micromolecules, amino acids, your lipids, and also your carbohydrates. And then the next one says cellulose in a plant cell wall. That's true because you're fixing it through photosynthesis, and you can obviously use that glucose that you make to convert that into a beta glucose, and therefore you can convert that to cellulose. That can be true. And then it says lipids in a bacterial cell membrane, right? Also, guys, another thing I actually forgot to add to all of this to this whole diagram is also we forgot about respiration, isn't it? So plants are going to respire, and these guys are going to respire. So that's going to be respiration, and that's always going to release CO2 into the atmosphere. Sorry about that, guys. But then the last one, lipids in a bacterial cell membrane. Yeah, this can also be true because remember, um, for example, let's just say you have an infection and bacteria can grow within you, isn't it? Or even plants can be affected by bacteria, so they can steal some of that carbon that's been assimilated in these organisms and use that to make part of the cell membrane. Because remember, cell membrane is phospholipid, and the lipid part especially would need a load of carbon. So that one's also true. So hopefully, guys, you can appreciate that in this case, H should be the correct answer. So, guys, I really hope that has made sense and this idea of the carbon cycle has made sense. And I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right, guys, so welcome back. So previously we were looking at BMAT 2019, question 30, to do with this question of the carbon cycle. Hopefully, guys, after understanding how the carbon cycle works, this question was not too difficult, and hopefully most of you guys managed to get this right. But now, guys, we move on to the next question, which is BMAT 2018. But now this is talking about the nitrogen. This is the diagram shows part of the nitrogen cycle, and it says which of the numbers I represents denitrification. So, guys, pause the video give yourself a minute and be back after a minute. We'll be going through the solution. Or guys, alternatively, if you have no idea what the nitrogen cycle is, just carry on watching the solution. We can always go through that. Okay, guys, so welcome back. So the nitrogen cycle. So what happens in the nitrogen cycle is that you're essentially starting with a load of nitrogen in the air, isn't it? And what was the stat? So in terms of stat, I think in the air you have 79% nitrogen, I think it was. Yeah, so you have 79% of nitrogen in the air. So most of the air is nitrogen, which is a relatively inert gas. But then this nitrogen can be fixed by nitrogen fixing bacteria. So you have N2 fixing bacteria. And essentially these happen in the roots of legumes, I think it was, yeah, legumes. And essentially there's so many of these nitrogen fixing bacteria on the roots of legumes on a single root of a legume, right? I think there was a stat, if you wrap that around the whole earth, you would cover the whole circumference. That's pretty significant. And you also have some of these in the soil as well. So you have nitrogen fixing bacteria, and they convert the nitrogen from N2 into NH3, right? And now also, guys, on top of that, you also have animal waste, right? Remember, animal waste, animals also produce nitrogen as a waste product, isn't it? Right? And then obviously most animals, the way they release nitrogen is through urea, which they release in their urine, isn't it? But some animals don't do that. But the idea, essentially, I think the idea was that the you essentially get animal waste, right? So you get animal waste, and there's this process which is so this should be ammonia NH3, and there's this process called ammonification. So some bacteria can convert nitrogen stuff into ammonia, and that's going to make you NH4 plus. And also this NH3 can just be converted to NH4 plus quite easily actually, by just the fact that, for example, acid rain has a load of H plus, and when that falls into the soil, the NH3 can just get a H plus from there and turn into ammonium, which is NH4 plus. And then you have nitrifying bacteria. So nitrifying bacteria is going to turn it first into a nitrite and then a nitrate, so NO3 minus. So both of these steps over here is going to be carried out by nitrifying bacteria, right? And then what's going to happen to the nitrate, guys? So what's going to happen to the nitrate is that's plants, isn't it? So plants, that's how they could get a load of nitrogen from nitrates in the soil. That's a key mineral in the soil that plants need, because obviously plants also make a load of proteins, which are the main things which require nitrogen. And then that NO3 minus, that can be returned back as nitrogen into the air through denitrifying bacteria. So denitrifying bacteria. So essentially what we've done through that diagram, guys, is we recapitulated what's already been shown in this diagram. So if we look over here, nitrogen gas into nitrates, that's obviously skipping all those steps, but you get the idea. And then nitrates can go back into nitrogen gas. That's actually the denitrifying part. So in answer to this question, the denitrifying part is quite easy. It's just going to be one, isn't it? One is going to be one of them. And then what else do we have? So we covered 5. Nitrogen gas into ammonium ions. That's going to be the nitrogen fixing bacteria, then to nitrites, then to nitrates. Yep, we covered all of that. And then nitrates can go into protein in plants. And then, yeah, exactly, those proteins, when you break them down, you can form ammonium ions from that. And most animals get rid of them in the form of urea. But I think there was some weird biology going on where some bacteria can actually convert it to NH4. So the main thing which is showing denitrification, guys, hopefully you can appreciate, then is basically just anything which is going to form nitrogen from a molecule. And the only one which is forming nitrogen from a molecule is number 1, nitrates to nitrogen gas. So hopefully you guys can appreciate then that it would only be one in this case. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense. And yes, we really look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right, guys, so welcome back. So previously, we were looking at BMAT 2018 question 5 to do this question of the nitrogen cycle. Hopefully, my explanation of the nitrogen cycle was clear, and hopefully that question made a load of sense. But now, guys, we move on to BMAT 2015, and in this question, we're actually revisiting the carbon cycle. And as you can see, guys, the main things they're going to ask about ecology is the carbon and nitrogen cycle. And I think you just have to have some awareness of some key terms. But guys, it's all in the specification, and the specification sometimes fluctuates, sometimes it changes. So it's really important that you go over what they require you to know in your year. And then obviously, if there's anything confusing that you'd like me to go over, I can always make a video. So if you always suggest that, I can always provide something for that. So this question says the diagram shows part of the carbon cycle, sorry, and says which row shows the numbered processes that use digestive or respiratory enzymes. So guys, pause the video, stop the video now, give yourself a minute and be back after that minute. We'll be going through the solution. Okay, guys, so remember the carbon cycle always begins with carbon dioxide in the air, as we have over here, and then the carbon dioxide in the air goes to carbon in plants. Remember, this is just going to be photosynthesis, going to write PS, and then the carbon in plants goes to the carbon in animals, and that's basically just consumption, isn't it? So you're consuming and digesting plant material and extracting the carbon so you can have carbon in animals, and then the carbon in animals, this is going to go to the carbon in decomposes. What essentially decomposes essentially means is just that they eat on essentially dead animals. This is, I think I might have forgot to put this in the carbon cycle diagram in the first clip, but we can mention it now here. So the carbon in the animals, once they die, for example, if you have a dead body on the road or a dead rat, for example, what's going to happen? You have a lot of ants and stuff on that dead material, and they decompose and try to extract all the carbon from there, right? So this is called decomposition, clearly. So decomp, and then the decomposers can put the carbon dioxide back in the air, and that's obviously just respiration, is it? Because they're living creatures, and therefore they respire to put that CO2 back in the air. So it says processes that involve digestive enzymes. So what's in digestive enzymes? That's going to be 2 for sure, right? So you need to digest the thing, and also 3 actually, so because you need to digest the dead materials into it. So 2 and 3, so 2 and 3. So we have either this option, or we can have this option. And then it says processes that involve respiratory enzymes, and that's just going to be 4, isn't it? That's the only one that represents respiration. So that's going to be 4 only. So hopefully then, guys, you can appreciate then that in this question, H would be the correct answer. So guys, I really hope that's made sense. And I actually think it's the last question of the ecology topic. Again, really short, but it does come up. You shouldn't neglect this topic, although some of you might find it boring. But yeah, definitely not to neglect. But hopefully, guys, that was helpful. And I actually think, guys, this is the end of the whole biology section. So we've come a long way, guys. And then next, I think we're going to move on to a bit of maths. So I really look forward, guys, to seeing you in the next series of videos. And everyone, have a good day. And yes, so hopefully all is good.